Hold on.
What?
Our day is not over just yet.
Woohoo! USA! USA!
We have an action-packed hour for you 6 p.m. drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for March 4th, 2025. Hope you all enjoyed that Padres pen pals that Chris and I did. Lots of angry people with me. I don't know why people think it's fun to just trash on me. Maybe because the Tony Chris trashed me all the time. I don't know. I mean, it's okay. I understand. You just want to have fun and make some jokes. But once you start calling me stupid in the DMs is when you get the boot. So don't call me stupid or you will get the boot. But those legitimately were all from my DMs. And so you kind of have a feel for what people are feeling around San Diego right now about the season upcoming. I also wanted to, I told everyone what we were going to talk about a little bit earlier during Gwen and Chris, but we're going to get into the backwards Parkers. We're going to get into because they are insane. We're going to talk about Jason Adam and his history with the Padres. We're also going to get a little serious for our Daily Gripe today. I try to keep things fun and light, but I was watching something over the weekend and it made me think I needed to bring it up just to kind of chat with everyone about it because it was something that I thought was not a terrible thing that these people did, but it's also maybe something that they shouldn't have done. I know I'm leaving everything out of the story, but it will all make sense during the Daily Gripe. I'm sorry, Daily Gripe. So let's go with where do we want to start? You know what? Let's start with the game today, or games today. So there was a split squad game. Padres had a home game, which featured more of the starters, and they tied with the Giants 1-1 after 9 innings. The other game, Matt Waldron started. He gave up 4 runs, but the Padres, it ended 16-1. They lost to the Cubs. So we're not even going to talk about that game because we don't need to talk about that game. But what we should talk about is what happened with the Padres at home against the Giants, because this is the first time that we've been able to see Nick Pivetta, and the first time since he signed, he's pitched in like a real spring training game format. We saw him on the backfields with Fernando, I think it was last week, and Fernando took him yard. But Nick Pivetta showed us today what the Padres want out of him and why they signed him to the deal that they did. He went 2 2/3. He struck out 4. He only walked 1. He gave up no hits. In the first inning, Nick Pivetta went strikeout, walk, strikeout. So he struck out the side in the first inning. And what everybody has been saying about Nick Pivetta's performance today in spring training was the breaking ball was incredible. And Chris even used the term like knee buckler. And when you're getting guys to buckle their knees in spring training, you know that breaking ball is pretty good. So I loved, obviously, what I saw from Nick Pivetta today. I don't think there's anything to not love about it. 1 walk, 4 Ks, no hits, and 2 2/3 innings. Like, come on, that's really good stuff. You heard Sam Levitt talking about it a little bit earlier, but the media caught up with Nick Pivetta after his outing, and here is what he had to say to them about everything that happened.
I felt good. First outing out, it was just nice to get out there. Everything feels good, feel healthy, feel strong. I think we just can kind of continue to build from here on out. Obviously, limit the walks better, and then just continue to hone the craft.
What did you work on? Because we haven't seen how you built up. I know you usually make like 5 starts, which you have time to do here. Mm-hmm. What did you work on the backfield?
Just kind of my mechanics, just getting into kind of my feelings of, my regular feelings of how I want to pitch. execute my pitches, just getting my feet underneath me, feeling what the ball feels like in my hand, and just going out and doing what I've always done, just execute pitches.
Very fastball heavy, it seemed like today, like 60%. Was that kind of the game plan going in?
I think it's a spring training game. I don't think there's very much of a game plan ever going into it. I think it's just, executing your pitches, working on kind of the little things that you kind of are hoping to bring into the season, and just kind of honing in on those crafts.
Seeing you've been working a lot, obviously, with Ruben during the bullpen sessions. What's kind of his impact been so far, at least early on in spring?
I mean, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
And I think that, right now it's just us getting to know each other, kind of him getting to know me, him bringing a couple things to the table as well mechanically, and, just trying to hone those in and bring those into the game, kind of what the organization, what Ruben and what the pitching org staff kind of has in store for me, what they think are better values, and just kind of working on those things.
At the same time, you mixed a lot of pitches today. Were you pleased with the way it all came out?
Yeah, everything was pretty much for strikes. I would like to throw my slider a little bit better for strikes, but it's the first game, so I'm not going to try to give myself too much of a hard time right now.
All right, there was Nick Pivetta with the media after the game, and Nick Pivetta, that's the first time I heard him talk with Ben Woods, but that's the first time I've really seen him in that kind of format. He seems like a very matter-of-fact guy. Couple things about that clip that I thought were hilarious. You can hear all of the reporters breathing heavy, because I'm feeling like here's how it works at spring training, because where the video was, I should go back to the video and look at it. The video is of, so the wall that he's standing in front of is one that's like near the parking lot. And so it's nowhere near the field. And usually they do their interviews like right outside the field. And so maybe I'll have to ask Sam why this happened. But Nick, I have a feeling that all the reporters had to run from the Peoria Stadium all the way to this little area over where they did this talk. And that's why everybody is breathing so hard. And it's hilarious. So it was really funny. You could kind of hear him like going, but anyway, I shouldn't be talking about people breathing heavy into things, because that happens on the show all the time. But Nick Pivetta, definitely someone I didn't really know much about, but over the time I've been looking into him for the past, ever since they signed him, I know that his numbers don't pop. I know that his numbers don't look like they are numbers that are ace type numbers. And I'm not saying he's an ace, but I think that his numbers don't really represent how well he pitches. And I think that his numbers will get better this year, because he's going to have a better defense behind him. And if things work for him, well, there's a couple things, because he's able to opt out after the year. So if he has an amazing year and he thinks that he's going to get like $25-30 million from somewhere, he can opt out. So there's a ton of motivation for him to try and find an extra, or try to find a way into another contract, because he signed the 4 years, 55 with the Padres. He has that opt out after this year so that he can kind of reset his market if he wants to. But the reason I bring that up is because you may think, okay, well, he signed for 4 years. Is he just going to go through the motions? No, he's not going to go through the motions. I don't know this to be true, but I would think that he's not happy with how things went in free agency, with all the other pitchers getting big, huge, massive amounts of money. And Nick Pivetta, kind of sat there for a little bit and didn't get those big, huge, massive amounts of money. I would think that motivates him a little bit, because he sounds like a guy who thinks that he's one of the better pitchers in baseball. And if he continues to do what he did today, then I would think he is going to be one of the better pitchers in baseball, because he just showed it today. Yes, spring training. I know. He even said that. I hate the whole spring training thing, because it's so foreign to me to not be able to. It's so foreign to me to not be able to find any value in these games. Like, they played 30-something games, and it just boggles my mind that none of these games really means anything at all. So Nick Pivetta doing good things today. All right. The Dodgers are playing right now against the Reds, top of the fifth. Reds are leading 2-1, but Roki Sasaki is now pitching for the Dodgers. Yamamoto went 4 innings. He gave up 2 runs. He struck out 3, 4 hits. Roki Sasaki so far, 2/3 of an inning, gave up a hit, Also gave up a strikeout. And I got to say, yes, spring training, but he's already touching 99. I'm not sure if he got the 100. The breaking ball is making guys swing out of their shoes. I'm not liking what I'm seeing here because I was hoping for it to be like some sort of terrible outing for him, and he just struck out whoever he was facing. So his breaking ball looks really good, everybody. I gotta say, this is not fun to look at. Wow. Okay, well, we're not going to pay attention to that anymore because it doesn't fit my narrative anymore. So we have to keep moving. I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to see that, but you know what? It is what it is, and I think the Padres are going to be on the better end of it in the end. I hope so. That's at least what I tell myself to go to sleep at night. Let's get into the backwards Parkers because I got more pushback from this edition of our backwards Parker talk than ever before from the backward Parker crowd. Now, again, this has come up, I don't know, maybe 5 times over the show's history, and each time it devolves into some shouting match between us all because Tony is a backwards Parker and I and Chris are not backwards Parkers. I you know what I did today? I was driving in the parking lot and I decided, I was like, all right, let's try to back in. Let's try to back in. So I go past the spot and I backed in just fine. But you know what? I pulled in yesterday in the same amount of time. So it doesn't matter. I hate the it saves time argument. Also, I'm pretty sure, but I don't have any proof of this, that insurance companies are making up the stats about parking backwards, about how it's safer to park backwards. You know what, people? You're supposed to look when you pull back. You're supposed to look. It's like the number one thing about driving. When you're in reverse, you have to look behind you. People are like, I can't do that. I might get hit. Well, I have found the anger towards me, in this whole thing for a couple days and then it passes. So I'm hoping it passes soon. But here is my final statement on the backwards Parker crowd for at least this edition. If you can back up your car into a spot with efficiency, I have zero issues. Most people, though, cannot back up their car. I am talking to the non-able to back up your car people. I'm talking to those people because they're the ones who are who's making everything terrible in the parking lots. Know your limitations. If you're not a good driver, don't try to back in a busy parking lot. It's just not going to work for you. I don't want to have to sit there for 15 minutes as you're going 3-point turning trying to get into your spot. So I'm going to not look at any of the DMs anymore. And I'm not going to reply to any more of the DMs about the backwards parking because I have to put that away for a little bit. But know this, I will continue to pull into my spot forward, and I'm not going to be embarrassed about it. That is the final word with Matt Skraby on backwards parking. For now. When we get back here on the Skraby Show, we're going to talk about Jason Adam. I want to reveal what I learned about him earlier today. We still got the Daily Gripe. I also wanted to talk about the Hopo-meter that Chris Sam and I talked about. So we still got a ton to go here on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, it's
Fan, the Skraby Show. You can watch on YouTube. Just search 97.3 The Fan, or you can search the Skraby Show. I know that people are starting to frequent that channel as well. Twitch 97.3 The Fan, Facebook 97.3 The Fan, and then we have X at Matt Skraby, MATTSKRAB as in boy, Y. So I'm going to share this embarrassing story of something that happened to me over the weekend. And it's something I am sure that everyone out there would has done. I'm almost positive that everyone listening right now has done this and has felt this embarrassment before. And here is what it is. So I was, I was going to lunch over the weekend, and I got to the place a little bit early. So I was sitting in like the waiting area, waiting for the person I was going to meet up to go to lunch with. And then there was a cute girl who was sitting in one of the tables that was like kind of facing the area that I was in. And she was by herself. And I was like, okay. I mean, she's got to be waiting for someone, right? So I'm waiting. 5 minutes goes by. No one shows up. 10 minutes goes by. And then all of a sudden, I see her get up and start walking towards me and waving. And I'm like, uh-oh. Not uh-oh. I'm like, okay, well, she's coming over here. Let's get ready to talk. So I put my hand up and wave. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And she goes, hi. And she looked behind me, and it was for her friend that was coming in the building. It was very embarrassing, everyone. It was so embarrassing. It was like one of those things where you go to wave hi, and then you pull your hand down because you realize you're waving hi to the wrong person. It was mortifying. I'm like someone who crawls out of my skin during awkward situations, and that's one of the worst awkward situations for me, where I wave at someone and they are not even looking at me whatsoever. So it's like the one time where I was doing Padres post game and I was filling in for Sam Levitt, and the Padres won. So I went on the field to do the player interview. I actually did it with Gary Sanchez. He had a really nice night. I believe they played the Cubs. He had a home run, all of that. So I'm sitting there on the field waiting for Gary Sanchez to do his interview with a TV. And so he's doing his interview with TV. I'm just standing there. And all of a sudden I hear these voices going, hey, you, hey. And so I look over, and it's 3 attractive girls. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, come over here. I'm thinking, oh, maybe finally people are recognizing that I'm a celebrity. No, I'm just kidding. But maybe finally people are recognizing that I'm somewhat important because I'm standing on the field waiting for an interview. So I walk over to them, and I go and I say, hey, what's going on? And they're like, hey, can you get us his autograph? And so they only wanted Gary Sanchez's autograph. And that has nothing to do with me. I was just their means to an end. So I legitimately just turned around and walked away. I didn't even say anything. And they were like screaming, hey, get us his autograph. No, I'm not going to do that. But that was also very embarrassing because for the second time in the last 5 minutes, I've told a story about where an attractive girl is heading my way or calling me over, and it ends up being nothing, or it ends up being that they want me to get an autograph from someone else. And McKee says, I have such a fun visual of this. It's bad. I can still see it myself in my head. It was pretty bad. Reckoner says, you are famous, Skraby. I had you autograph my hat alongside other players. Yes, I did autograph your hat. I don't know. I don't really like calling myself famous anyway. We'll move off of that. And McKee says, but now you have a legit fan, Skraby. I do. I have great Skrabinators out there, and I love all of you. But let's see. Dominic says, was the friend, this is the restaurant, was the friend a guy? If not, lean into it, brother. Make the joke and hope for the best. No, it was like definitely a boyfriend or something, because they embraced and kissed. So there you go. Reckoner says, you have a community at least. Yes, I do. And I'm very happy for that. This happened like 2 years ago with the Gary Sanchez thing, but I'm just standing on the field thinking, hey, everybody, things are finally coming up, Skraby. And then boom, can you give me his autograph? Which is hilarious, I have to say. It's really funny. Doesn't sound like I think it's funny, but it is funny. I promise you I laugh about it quite often, and I tell the story because it's fun to laugh about it. Anyway, that's it for embarrassing story time with Matt Skraby. And we're going to go talk about something, more uplifting, like Jason Adam. And I knew that Jason Adam was with the Padres before he started his endeavors with other teams, but I didn't know the extent of how much the Padres were familiar with him. And now it makes all the sense in the world that AJ Preller went out and got him because they had seen what he could do and they know what type of guy he is. So it makes all the sense in the world. But how long ago was Jason Adam a Padre? Well, he told The Athletic it was the navy blue Padres. He said there's new carpet, but other than that, everything looks the same. So he's familiar with the area. He's 33 years old. In 2017, he spent 6 months with the Padres. He had pitched already in that time for 2 organizations and had missed 2 seasons with elbow trouble. And so he was trying to be ready for 2017. And the Padres expected him to be ready. He expected him to be ready, himself to be ready. The elbow was not ready. His elbow was giving him a really hard time again. And so, long story short, the Padres ended up helping rehab Jason Adam. And he said in the Athletic article, they helped get me finally healthy, and they released me when I got healthy, which was totally understandable. Once you sign, they have to pay for rehab. So it was like rehab here, then I'm off the books. There were no hard feelings. My wife and I laughed when it happened because at that point we're like, whatever. And at that point in his life, when he was released from the Padres, after they had already rehabbed him to get to the point of possibly going to find another team, baseball, the baseball deities were kind of telling him that maybe baseball wasn't the sport for him. And he had many surgeries. There was a stress fracture in his elbow. It required 4 surgeries. 1 to insert screws, another to remove them after the elbow swelled up, an arthroscopic procedure, and lastly, whatever else the famous Dr. James Andrews could dream up, because the 4th surgery, I guess this is what they did. He said, I'm just going to throw everything I've got at it in regards to Dr. James Andrews. Stem cell from my hip, throw a big screw in there, put me on osteoporosis medicine, and then that just needed a little bit more time. It's kind of crazy. So he goes to the Rays after figuring all this out, getting his 4th surgery. The Rays end up just tearing his pitching down and rebuilding it from the ground up. They loved that he had a changeup, but they hated all of his other pitches. So the Rays actually gave him an all new, the article calls it a menu, and they turned his slider into a sweeper. They encouraged him to use 3 pitches, and that would be the changeup, sweeper, and fastball. And they encouraged him to use them equally because he had been throughout his career relying on the fastball 60% of the time. And so they said, basically, here are the 3 pitches that we think that you should throw because it's going to work best for you. And all we need you to do is just get strike 1 every time, and you can be successful. And Jason Adam, obviously, after that, took off. He ended up being great for the Rays. The Rays changed his career by showing him which pitches that he needed to throw. And the Padres were the ones who actually rehabbed him to a point where he would be able to go and find another team. So this is why I had no idea that there was so much history. I knew that Jason Adam had been injured over the years, but I had no idea that he had 4 elbow surgeries, and they basically threw the kitchen sink in with everything on the last surgery. And I had no idea that his career was in such peril. He was on the show last year for Friday Friday, and he kind of sort of brought it all up and saying that he was with the Padres, but we didn't really get that deep into it. And he ends up coming back to the team that originally wanted him to be a part of their team. And so it's kind of full circle for him a little bit. And ever since he changed things, his fastball ranked at the 100th percentile last season. He had a 2.30 ERA, 0.881 whip in 170 games for the Rays, who dealt him to the Padres. In 27 games with San Diego, Adam was even better with a 1.01 ERA and a .788 whip. So ever since Jason Adam got things together, he has been unstoppable. And like Tony said, he's 33. He still has more control on his contract. He has another arbitration year, and then 2027 is 2027 is going to be an unrestricted free agent year for Jason Adams. So they won't have to worry about his contract until 2027. So next year, unless they decide to extend him or buy him out or whatever, and then give him a new contract or just go through arbitration again, all of those are options. But the Padres have basically a first right of refusal on Jason Adam. And I think we could be looking at some point, we could be looking at Jason Adam closing games for the Padres. Chris brought it up earlier. He doesn't want Robert Suarez to go anywhere. But if there's some offer out there from a team that wants Robert Suarez and it's going to help the Padres, I think you could feel pretty good about Jason Adam being your closer. I know I felt really good every time that he came into the game last year. I think Chris used the phrase earlier. It's as close to 3 automatic outs for a pitcher in baseball, which I 100% agree with. It's kind of one of those things where you will lose depth, but if you're able to get some guys that are going to help right now, or at least get some guys to rebuild the farm system, maybe you do it. I don't know because Robert Suarez isn't a guarantee with the Padres after this season. So all of these are things that you have to think about. And I personally think that the Padres are going to, keep what they got going on now, unless a deal comes on the table that they just can't turn down. But keep what they are doing right now and then adjust accordingly throughout the year. If they need to make trades, they can make trades. But as of right now, I think the squad that they have is set. I think it's pretty much set. Again, unless some sort of crazy trade comes down, which is totally possible with AJ Preller, I don't think for one second that this team won't try to see what they can do in the first half of the season before they end up trading depth pieces. Always got to reevaluate. So I think that's what the Padres are going to do. But Jason Adam, no idea how much he had to go through to get to the point where he is today. And as someone who has had surgery a couple times, I've torn my tricep. I had surgery on that. And I had surgery last year on my shoulder. I can tell you, I know I'm not a professional pitcher or a professional athlete, but surgeries are not the easiest things in the world to get through because everything feels foreign. So I'm always impressed, actually, when guys come back from surgery and everything feels great to them. Because my shoulder, to be honest, it's feeling better, but some days it really hurts. It'll be a year in June. So these guys are pretty incredible with what they can do. So that's what happened with Jason Adam. All right, when we get back, we're going to talk about that little thing with the Padres and if they were wrong for not posting anything about SDFC, and then the Daily Gripe. So stick with me. One more segment to go on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan. You know, one of the bad parts about cheering for poor performances of athletes that spurned your team is when they do well, it doesn't make you look good. And that's where I'm sitting right now. Skraby Show, Matt Skraby, everybody on 97.3 The Fan. You can watch on YouTube, Skraby Show, or 97.3 The Fan Twitter as well, at Matt Skraby. Dan says, get something before you are in a bad contract with Suarez. Dominic says, wait until the next few weeks and someone on another team may get hurt. Teams will be desperate for a closer, may be able to squeeze them a bit. I agree with that. I mean, I don't really think there's going to be a trade made before the start of the season, but I do think that there could be a trade made in the first 6 weeks of the season. Let's kind of figure out what you need, and AJ Preller can go to work, and bada bing, bada boom, you got a new player in town. That's how easy it works. Bada bing, bada boom. But back to me being looking bad, because, you know, everybody knows I'm going to cheer against Roki Sasaki. I'm going to. Because I didn't like the whole charade of him choosing a team. I didn't like the charade of everything that happened with him. Felt like we were all a little bit led on. I felt like there was some weirdness that happened, like him asking teams for proprietary information. But tonight, at least in spring training against the Reds, Roki Sasaki went 2 innings. He gave up 2 hits, no runs, walked 1, and struck out 3. And when I say that his breaking ball is nasty, it's nasty. It's nasty. I just got to hope that this is just I just got to hope that this is a spring training, you know, first outing, beginner's luck type thing. But I think I'm going to be wrong. I'll keep fighting the good fight, but at some point I'm going to have to stop because it's going to make me look really, really bad. May already make me look really, really bad. We have the Daily Gripe ahead. But right now, we're going to talk about something that I have seen all over the place, and I've actually had messages about it. But it's about Saturday night, and the Padres, people on social media are kind of upset with the Padres about them not posting anything on social media about the soccer game, not posting about SDFC. Not posting that Manny Machado, part owner of the team, was gonna be there. And the first thing that comes to mind to me, I don't know. First things that comes to mind is, why does it matter? Why does it matter to people so much? I don't really understand why it matters to people so much if the Padres post anything. Like social media, over the years, I have learned that social media is not real. And over the years, I have learned not to maybe fall into the trap that is social media. It doesn't mean I don't still do it, because I definitely still do it and I still fall into that trap. But I think not everything needs to happen. And the argument from the people that are upset is one of, they need to show support to their fellow teams in San Diego. And I understand that argument. I understand that they need to show quote unquote support for other teams in San Diego. But the other thing is, like, outside of the Aztecs going to the Final Four or being in the Sweet 16, more so the Final Four, something insane like that, the Padres, I don't believe, have really done anything for other teams. So why start now just because it's a soccer team? Like, this doesn't anger me in the least. Doesn't anger me in the least. I have way better things to be worried about. Some of the argument from people against, saying it's okay that the Padres didn't post is that the Padres, why are they going to promote a rival? Now, or not a rival, but like a rival team in town that's going to steal tickets away from them. Now, I can't buy that at all either. That argument is null and void to me, because the games happen so infrequently, and the games so infrequently in the way of them overlapping Padres games. So if there is going to be some sort of overlap, it's going to be for 1 or 2 or 3 nights a year. So I don't buy that part of the whole argument. But what I don't really understand is why people think that the Padres are letting down the community by not posting anything for SDFC. I don't think they're letting down the community. I don't think that they have to do anything just because they're in the city. Like, I'm not a fan of doing things for the credit of doing it. You know, I'll bring up the Chargers. The Chargers, a lot of the time, seem like they do things because it's going to score them points. And I'd almost rather the Padres not tweet or Instagram anything out than a disingenuous tweet saying, "Hey, everybody, SDFC is in town. They're kicking off tonight." I don't need that. It doesn't bother me that they didn't send that out. It's just social media. Like, the one thing I can think that is maybe a reason as to why they should have shared it is because Manny was there, and Manny was going to be doing the opening sequence. And so I understand that. Like, but in the end, overall, it doesn't bother me in the least that they didn't do anything. I don't think that they're not supporting the community because they didn't do this. Again, it's a tweet that will go by and it will be gone and no one will ever see it in 30 minutes. The Twitter life is very short and Instagram life is very short. So even if they did put out a tweet, what, are we going to feel better about everything? Are we going to maybe feel good about our city that the sports teams are aligned? I don't really care, to be honest, about that. Like, I don't think this doesn't mean the sports teams are aligned. I don't think that's what it means. All right, let's go to the chat. Dominic says they need to support the local team. Padres don't need to do anything other than worry about their own stuff. People get upset about the weirdest things. Chargers trying harder to score points on Twitter than they do on the field. Reckoner, I think it's early. I'm sure they will make a post at some point. We're holding them under a microscope. Dan, is it AI? Is what AI, Dan? Are the commenters AI? Reckoner says, especially if they make a postseason run, MLS has a postseason. Yes, they do have a postseason. If they make a postseason run, I'm sure they'll be saying something. But again, this is, as Tony would say to me, a nothing burger. I don't. In social media world, I learned the hard way I learned the very hard way to not get too caught up in what has not happened on social media. Like, I remember when I used to get super excited for being mentioned in something, and if it didn't happen, then if I didn't get mentioned in something, then, you know, life sucks because I didn't get mentioned in it. In reality, 7 years later, I don't even think about those times anymore. I'm also maybe not the right person. I'm not a big social media person to begin with. Like, the other day I opened Instagram and I love talking to the Skrabinators. I really do. But I get overwhelmed with social media because it's like, scroll. Okay, this guy thinks I'm terrible. Okay, keep going. Oh, this person thinks I'm really nice. It's obviously more nice people than bad people and mean people. For sure. 100%. But I opened Instagram and I had all these messages and I got really overwhelmed. So I'm sorry if I haven't answered anything on Instagram yet. I'm going to get to that. I promise. I'm going to get to that. Yeah, the Chargers actually promoted the Dodgers. See, that's the disingenuous stuff that I'm talking about. The Chargers have no reason to promote the Dodgers other than get that Twitter clout and get those likes and get those impressions. It's not really what I think teams should be in it for, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. Could they have sent something small? Yes, but it doesn't bother me at all. Let's go to the Hopometer. No, I don't want to go to the Hopometer. What time is it? All right. We're coming to the end of the Skraby Show. I'm Matt Skraby. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me rant a little bit tonight. It's actually felt very good to rant a little bit tonight. We've talked Jason Adam. We've talked Backwards Parkers. We've now talked SDFC. And you know what? I think we'll just get into No, I can't. I'm too early. I'm sorry. I'm doing this on the air in my head. All right, Hope-O-Meter, real quick. The Hope-O-Meter is something The Athletic put out, and they ask everybody in a survey, who's your team, and are you optimistic about their season? And so the results have not been released yet by The Athletic, but last year, 58% of Padres fans were optimistic. The year before that, when they were stacked, they were 98.8% optimism from Padres fans through this survey. I'm going to be really curious to see where Padres fans are at for this year. I would say before spring, it would have been less than 50%. But now that we've gotten into spring training, Nick Pivetta has been signed. There's been some feeling out of what this team's all about. I would say that percentage of optimistic Padre fans goes up to at least 70. I know that there's going to be a lot of Padres fans that are going to vote that they're not optimistic because of the past continuously biting them in the butt. And so I understand that, but I think that mostly, people are pretty excited about what's happening with the Padres so far. I think that people are buying into the fact that this team still is a pretty good team. And I think they're still buying into the fact that this team is going to compete. So optimism, I have optimism. If you have optimism, go and vote in this Athletic poll. I'm going to keep looking for the results. I think it comes out around opening day. But let's see what the, real quick, I'm going to go and see what the actual number one team for last year was, the 2024 Hope-O-Meter from The Athletic. It was the Orioles. Orioles were 98.7% optimism. Then the Braves, then the Diamondbacks. Oh, actually, I got to go and read some of the Padres. They give you a little spot when you do this to kind of say what you meant. Pessimist Brandon, before the Cease trade, they went cheap and have a lot of holes. We had hope with our owner, and that went away with his passing. Peter Seidler had the city believing this team could do anything. I still think they can do anything. Optimist. This is all relative to recent history. Do I think they will win it all? No. Do I think they will surpass the most disappointing, unlucky kick in the bleep season in history? Yes. I see this team making the playoffs as a distinct possibility, which is a relative W for a tortured, lifelong Padres fan. So that was before last year. But there's a couple more pessimists here that they list. And the Padres ranked 17th in 2024. So we'll keep an eye on it. And hopefully the Padres' optimism on the Hope-O-Meter goes up just a tiny bit.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
Reckoner. Yes, I am talking. Gosh, the volume is so weird in the studio today. I've been consistently optimistic. We're becoming spoiled. Imagine telling fans 10 years ago the type of team we have now. Yep, there you go. I agree. Tell people, if I were to tell certain Padres fans what the team's all about now, they would lose their mind. All right, Daily Gripe. It's kind of serious, but I wanted to bring it up. And Netflix has this documentary out called, I like the creepy stuff. It's called American Murder, Gabby Petito. So they have this whole 3-part series about that whole situation with Gabby Petito and her boyfriend at the time, Brian Laundrie. Well, I was watching the documentary, and it's really sad, obviously, because, of what happened. But there was one part where I really had an issue with the documentary. And I even went back to listen again to make sure I heard this correctly. And it was a part of the documentary when they were looking for them after they stopped, the families lost contact. They were looking, police, search and rescue, were looking for them. And so they go to these YouTubers. And again, I'm hoping that the documentary didn't just leave this part out, but they go to these YouTubers, and the YouTubers had a video of the van that everyone was looking for. And then they saw an alert on FBI's Facebook that this was going on, and they were looking for this type of van and things. And so the YouTuber, she goes, "Hey, we drove by there, and I remember seeing a white van sitting to the side of the road. So let's go check our video." So they checked the video, and they posted it on YouTube. They did not go to the police first. They posted it on YouTube. My daily gripe is them posting on YouTube before they went to the police. I have no issue with you posting this. You are YouTubers. This is your career. This is what you want to. This is a video that's going to, get you a lot of views, a lot of impressions. This is YouTube gold. I understand that. However, please call the police first before people go out there and trample a crime scene because you posted a video on YouTube that shows the van that the police are looking for. So I'm just going off of what the documentary told me, but my daily gripe is posting this video for YouTube glory before going and getting any sort of help from the police before posting it. Your video is still going to be popular after the police take a look at it. But I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this whole thing. If you're a YouTuber, think about it a little bit. Would you rather help a family or would you rather get some YouTube views? I think I know the answer on that from YouTube people. So, like I said, serious, but I wanted to bring it up. It's a good documentary. It's very sad, but anyway, that's it for me tonight. I'll be back with you tomorrow here on 97.3 The Fan. Good night.
Hey, it's Ben. Hey.